we're going to talk about Canada, because we applauded some Nazis a couple weeks ago.
Great.
Um, so yeah, Anthony Rota was the Speaker of the House, and he brought one of his constituents in when President Zelensky was addressing Parliament. He brought one of his constituents in, and it was like, oh, well, this is a like he's a war veteran. He fought for Ukrainian independence from Russia. You know, he's a war hero. Let's all give him a round of applause. And everybody gave him a round of applause. And then it came out over the course of the weekend that, like, oh, he was part of the Waffen SS. Like, he wasn't just a Nazi. He was a Nazi that was part of the military that had to volunteer and were, like, the most gung-ho of the Nazis and, like, probably committed war crimes. Like, so, in the article they say like, oh, the war crimes are alleged. They haven't been substantiated. It's like, yeah, but they're part of the Waffen SS. That's like that group.
That's uber Nazi.
Like that's uber Nazi. That group, like, basically, if you're part of an SS division, a Waffen SS division, it's no longer innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent. Like, show us that you did not commit a war crime, and then we'll consider maybe believing you.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so he wasn't just a Nazi. He was like one of the worst of the worst, and our parliament applauded him. But that's because the Speaker of the House introduced him as, like, just a Ukrainian war hero. He didn't mention the Nazi thing.
He did the thing I did with there's a video I did a while back where it was about the different ways that somebody can manipulate how your perspective on something is. And I described us using toothbrushes, but I used, like, very, very descriptive words, but never used any of the words for toothbrush or medicine cabinet or anything like that.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people that were just like, we thought that was some just weird tribe out somewhere that had a weird set of practices. I'm like, no, I just described brushing your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how the way you show information to somebody can lead to them having the wrong perspective on it very, very quickly. If you just lead with, this person fought against Russia, and you like that because we're against Russia right now. Okay, but they fought against Russia when Russia was one of our allies in World War II. The different connotation.
Yeah, slightly.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, so Liberal MP Anthony Rota is stepping down as... So this is the thing, is that, yeah, he accidentally had a Nazi applauded on Parliament. How did he respond to that? He's stepping down. He's resigning in shame.
So did he just not do a background check, or what?
Well, okay, I'll get into that in a bit. So we don't actually know the specifics of how this specific instance happened, but background checks come into play here at some point. So MPs, that's members of Parliament on all sides, said that this embarrassing incident was unforgivable. And as he resigned, he said, "The work of this House is above any of us. Therefore, I must step down as your Speaker." So, a little behind the scenes, I was all proud of myself because I got this whole stream was, like, set up yesterday. I got everything done. I wasn't scrambling at the last minute for anything. And then the news broke that Speaker McCarthy was ousted. And I was like, ah, shit, now I'm going to have to redo the things. I'm like, no, you know what? Canada had a speaker that was ousted. I'll talk about our speaker, because everybody losing their speakers nowadays. The difference is how we go about doing it. See, our speaker did something shameful and then resigned in shame. And he was replaced by the first ever black Speaker of the House in Canada. Fun fact. And just tonight, Canada elected its first ever Indigenous premier of a province in Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's Canada's being all progressive and stuff while we applaud Nazis.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom.
Okay, to be fair, I would like to say all, but I don't know that for a fact, so I am going to say most of the people applauding did not know that he was a Nazi. They just knew that he was a war, like later on in the article they talked to some of the MPs who were of Jewish origin, and, like, Holocaust survivors or children of Holocaust survivors. They're like, I felt disgusted and sick when I learned that I had applauded a Nazi.
That's the normal response to that.
Yeah, but it's not like they knew he was a Nazi and they were applauding, hoping that they would just never get caught applauding a Nazi. It was like, I think this is a Ukrainian war hero. Oops, it was a Nazi. I should not have applauded that man. Ew.
At least that's better than what happens in America when shit like that goes down. But they're like, you liberals call anybody you don't like a Nazi.
Yeah, that one's going to come... that point's going to come back later, too.
Oh, boy.
That'll come up in the tweets, not in the article, though. So, yeah, on Friday, this is not this past Friday, but the one before that, Rhoda invited Ukrainian veteran Yaroslav Hunka, constituent of his from North Bay, to sit in Parliament during Zelensky's address to Parliament. And then over the weekend, it emerged that he was part of the 1st Ukrainian Division, which was the Waffen-SS Galicia Division. Galicia? I'm not sure how to say. A lot of Ukrainian and Polish names in this article that I'm just going to issue blanket apology for how bad I'm going to pronounce them. Also, I know it's not Waffen, it's Waffen. But I don't know. For me to say Waffen, I feel like that would be like the guy who comes back from Italy talking about how he likes mozzarella on his pizza.
I want some mozzarella.
Just call it mozzarella, man.
So you're just sitting there going like, I don't think what you're doing is racist, but it feels like it. So stop.
When I dabbled with playing video games on a game streaming channel, one of the first games I played was Super Mario Brothers, the one for the Super Nintendo, and I kept on doing the Mario voices, and I had people in the comments being like, "Come on, man, that's racist. Don't do Italian stereotype voices."
Just like this is literally Charles Martinet's Mario voice. You'll be okay.
Oh my God! Did you see the tweet? Somebody tweeted that because Charles Martinet is like last line ever recorded for Nintendo before he retired was like something for, like it was something for the Mario movie, and it was like something touching. I forget what the line was, but the way they posted it is like, you know, this is the last thing that he gave us before he left us forever. And I was like, what? He died? Charles Martinet died? What? And start Googling. It's like, no, he just retired, man. Don't talk about him like that. Stop scaring me.
Yeah.
He's so wholesome. Have you seen the interviews with him?
I've actually seen him at convention.
He just seems like a sweet person.
It does seem like that. I've never gotten bad vibes. I've never had a conversation with him, and I refused to stay in the line that was there for his signatures. But he seemed very wholesome when I saw him at Too Many Games convention. He had a booth there.
Oh. Yeah. So yeah, Poland is trying to get him extradited so they can prosecute him for war crimes. Because, you know, he's a war criminal.
Yeah.
The Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center, which is a Jewish rights group, they said Rhoda's action compromised all 338 MPs and handed a propaganda victory to Russia. I'm not sure what they mean by compromise there, but it definitely was a propaganda victory for Russia. Because like they've got that whole thing where it's like, oh look, there's that division of the Ukrainian army that's full of Nazis.
And Putin's been doing his whole, we need to denazify Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's been his method of going about this.
Yeah, and they're also calling on the Commons Procedure and House Affairs Committee to hold public hearings to investigate what took place and examine the vetting process failures that led to this. And also, so now we're going to get into a bit of a history lesson.
Oh boy.
Did you know that Canada was a bit of a safe haven for Nazis fleeing, or Nazis after World War II?
I actually did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Now, from what I've read, it appears to be basically just one guy who was actively trying to get them over here, and then it was just a failure of other people to do the appropriate background checks or like any sort of thorough checking. So what happened was there was a bunch of Waffen-SS POWs that this one Canadian, I think he was in the Air Force, the Air Force commander or something. He so what they did is they changed the name of their division just at the end of the war, because they realized that Waffen SS, the other countries that are kicking our ass, aren't going to treat us too nicely if we stick with that name. So they changed their name to something else, something a bit more innocuous. And then this guy, he basically, he knew that they changed their name. He knew what they were, but he was like kind of turning a blind eye. He's like, oh, I'm just gonna like submit your paperwork for refugee status to Canada under this new name of your unit, and say that you were forced into fighting for Hitler, and not that it was a volunteer force, which it absolutely was. And the Canadian authorities did not do thorough enough job vetting those people.
It just passed through.
It was also, I do have to say at this point, England helped with that, probably out of self-interest, where it's like, there are all these Nazi troops in Europe that are going to be causing trouble for us if they stay in Europe. Well, if Canada's on the verge of taking a bunch of them, so let's give them a little nudge. Tell them, like, oh, maybe don't look too closely into this one. And something like 2,000 of these soldiers ended up in Canada. But we don't actually know the full number, because there was, when this kind of came to light in the 1980s, the government commissioner report, which is now the Deschênes Commission, which was to investigate the extent of the Ukrainian Nazi activities in post-Second World War Canada. Only half of that report was ever made public. It was the half that was basically like, yeah, we fucked up and harbored a bunch of Nazis. But the part that was like, and these are the Nazis, please extradite them and take them away for war crimes or whatever, that part was left private. And so now people are calling to have that made public.
So this is literally a clerical error from years ago that is now coming to bite everybody in the ass.
Yeah, so what probably happened was that the Speaker of the House, Rhoda, he just saw that he was, like, he saw the paperwork on the guy that he was, like, he fought for Ukraine in World War II. He didn't see that he fought, for Ukraine, but not really Ukraine. It was actually the Waffen SS. He just saw the name of the division, and it was one that, like, didn't really have bad things attached to it, if you didn't dig.
So this is like somebody, if I were to give full benefit of the doubt, this was probably somebody who had 1,000 sets of paperwork before and after this, so this was just a stamp and let them move on type of deal.
Probably, yeah.
And now we're here, and now this is blowing up in their faces like, oh shit, hold on.
Yeah, so now we get government house leader Karina Gould, who is of Jewish descent, said she's horrified she celebrated Hanukkah. The Ontario MP also posed for a picture with the man after Friday's festivities. This is very emotional for me. My family are Jewish Holocaust survivors. I would never in a million years have stood and applauded someone who aided the Nazis. And yet she was tricked into doing just that, essentially.
Again, all it takes is omitting or slightly altering, while not being entirely untruthful, any information you give to an audience to completely change the perspective that audience has about literally any topic.
Yeah, so that's basically all I really wanted to talk about here. So, just thought it would be a nice change of pace to not be shitting on the U.S. every single time.
And today we're blaming Canada.
And then we're comparing that to the U.S. and seeing how, like, well, when we fuck up, our people take responsibility and resign, and then we hire progressive people to replace them.
Yeah, when we fuck up, people just start making apologetics for them. People just like, no, you don't understand. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't mean that about Jewish space lasers. She's not really a Nazi.
Oh, God. We
think, maybe. I'm still...
I don't think that.
I think she is one, honestly. You don't say Jewish space laser. You don't put Jewish as a pejorative on something, as a descriptor, without having at least a couple of those beliefs. Like, just a couple of qualifying ones.
Yeah.
Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.